In today's video, we're going to talk about how to increase or improve the lead quality coming from your online PPC advertising campaigns or any other online, offline advertising campaigns that you have. You could be sending out snail mail. The leads you get, you can increase the closing rate by as much as 2, 3, 4 times higher than you have right now by simply following the instructions I'm going to give you on today's video. There's a lot of people who want to blame their advertising as a reason why they're not making money. If you're generating leads or customers have to physically talk to you as a part of your overall sales process in your business, the ad campaign by itself isn't going to probably do everything unless you have a damn good offer, okay? You can actually do a lot with the ad campaign, yes, but just the ad campaign by itself, unless you have amazing abilities to put into words what you're offering, it's not going to be good enough, okay? Just not. And you got to understand some core concepts that, yes, even though you don't hear your business pals talking about these things, about how to actually take leads and make money from them, they are all very, very important. And a lot of times, companies that are making money running ads, they don't even realize their ads are not making money. Why? Because they got return business coming in and referrals and all that, which muddy the waters. Their ad campaigns are not profitable, but they were able to keep financing a losing ad campaign that actually does not even break even just through the other business ad coming in. Whereas if you're starting out from scratch, you got to get all these things right in order to have a closing rate that's high enough on the leads that you're bringing in to pay for the ad campaigns that you're running, and then more importantly, scale. Of course, you should know before you advertise or spend any money on advertising what you can pay for a lead and how many of them need to turn into sales to cover the advertising cost and all the cost of delivering that product or service to the customer / client, but also so that you can scale. Because most of the time when I'm putting together a campaign, you have to do a lot of work to hit your number, so to say. You should know I need to pay $30 for a lead or $40 or what have you, and you do a lot of times 6 months work to get the campaign that you're running to produce $30 a lead. But it's okay even if you waste, $5-10 grand worth of advertising spend to hit that $30 number, because now you've got a system that works. And you can start incrementally increasing that advertising budget using the system that you created and make all that back in 1 month once you're another year into the process already. This is why most people don't make money with online advertising that I talk to or that I've seen, because people think online advertising is a get-rich-quick scheme. If it were that easy, somebody in your ad space would probably have done it already. It's a process of trying to incrementally making your system better and more efficient. And a lot of times it takes a certain amount of work before it will make money at all at the beginning, because you start out knowing nothing. You find out along the way what works, and then you focus on that. Now you are making money for the next 5-10 years running it. But at the beginning, it wasn't apparent that these 15 keywords don't work, but these 5 do. This ad here that says this works to get the click-through rate you need, and this over here doesn't. And then, of course, beyond that, you got to understand how to sell. And a lot of people just think, if I run my ad campaign correctly, these people will come and they'll buy. And it doesn't matter if Joe answers the phone or Mary, the secretary, answers the phone or whatever. If the ad campaign's good enough, they'll buy. And that's kind of true, but for the most part, not true. You can't have order takers that are randomly on every call handling the calls however they want and expect to make money most of the time. I can tell you this is the biggest problem we have with our clients, because we're an advertising agency, but we don't manage your sales process. And we can figure out beforehand for a client, this is how many leads we know we need to mathematically get you for the ad budget you have to make money with the closing rate that's should be respectable and easy to get in your industry. And then you get them all these leads and they're saying, well, I'm not making any more money. Well, it's not just the advertising that's required to make money from running, an advertising campaign and make it profitable. You got to understand how to monitor, first of all, what your closing rate is, know what you need to have for closing rate on your leads, but then also monitor it, and then figure out where things are falling apart. And furthermore, just like what I'm going to do with your ads, and improve and figure out this keyword doesn't work or what have you, and make refinements, you got to be able to make refinements to your lead selling process, so you're getting more and more and more out of a lead on an ongoing basis. Because you're going to start out totally dumb to the world in terms of selling, but if you stay at it long enough, you will find a way to extract the most value from a lead, and it just makes money and money, makes money and makes money and makes money and makes money after that. But you got to go through the process of figuring that out for yourself. What this information on this video does is it tells you the core concepts that can put you, 80% of the way there for your company, so that you don't have to figure out truly. It doesn't take you as much time to make your campaigns profitable, basically. Even though every business is going to have a slightly different process, but there's as much money to be made refining what you do with the lead than there is refining what you can do with the ads and the ad campaign itself. Such as, in our own business, to give you an example, I know that if after I get a lead, if I right away send a copy of my book to a potential client, that'll increase the closing rate of a lead by literally double. Why? Because our competition's not doing it, and if they're considering more than one agency at that time, which they often are, then we stand out. Well, that's little stuff that most other people are just going to brush underneath the rug, even if I tell them that, because they don't want to make it complicated. They don't want to have to work. They want to be able to have me run an ad campaign for them. They send the calls to their secretary who's clueless, and then they automatically make money. Maybe you get it to work in your niche by doing that. But if you're not making money, guess what? You can start making money if you do start paying attention to that sales process, assuming you understand at a core level how to make ads work for your company as well, which is also part of the equation. But I'm going to tell you how to do this and what part of the sales process is going to attribute to what part of the money you're making, so you understand how important each individual piece is. And with examples and so forth that I'm going to give you with other companies I've worked with, and how we tweak their sales process, and how you can then ultimately, with all this, increase the so-called quality of your leads, given that the quality of the lead is subjective to how you treat the lead. Because I could take your shitty lead and make it turn into a sale, whereas your shitty lead you may just think is a shitty lead. So for the most part, yes, there are real shitty, there definitely are shitty leads out there, but you don't have to have as good a lead as you think you do to make sales. You just have to understand how to do the part that's required after that person picks up the physical phone to get the sale. And there's more to it than Betty answered the phone, so we're covered here. So anyway, with all that said, I'll get into the content. So like I mentioned before, I already have a lot of clients at my advertising agency that I've helped with their ad campaigns. And when they're not making money from the leads, because all they want to do is have me send people to their business to call or fill out the form on their site, and their bank account explodes. And no thought, they think because they're paying me, their bank account should automatically explode. Maybe they got a good sales process already, and it does. But a lot of times they don't. And the main sole source of the reason why their ad campaigns don't work is because they don't understand the first thing about sales. Sales being a seduction process of taking somebody with a little bit of interest to turn that into burning interest and therefore a sale. And the information I'm going to share with you here is how to take leads that you don't think are very good, but will convert into a sale at a very high rate, just simply because you understood the core concepts I'm telling you here. So don't be like the rest of the people who have an ad campaign that works. It's not going to get better because you're only going to make a campaign so efficient because your competition still wants to buy ad space and compete, and not make money from your ads as a result because you just ignore the sales process. So yes, you can improve the lead quality on the leads that you're getting, so they increase you have a higher closing rate on the leads that you get by just tweaking your ad campaigns. However, this is only about 30% of the equation of the so-called quality of the lead that you're going to get. And that all comes down to where you're advertising. Of course, for a lot of companies, the difference between advertising on Google versus Facebook is a night and day difference. Somebody that finds you on Facebook, that's fleeting interest. A lot of the times what we'll have for clients will tell me these stories because they think they can just run a Facebook ad and then have no sales process and that was going to work. You actually have to just work way harder on your sales process advertising on Facebook because these people weren't looking to buy before you got in front of them. They saw what you had, they responded. A day later, they go to contact them and they're like, what? I don't even remember filling out that form, which they did fill out that form. So that people don't have a lot of attention span, and they're not excited anymore by the time you reach out to them or talk to them. You're not going to make any money from those leads, whereas somebody else could take those leads and make money, like I was talking about before. We're going to talk about here in a minute. But see, where you're advertising and what website, what channel, that obviously matters and will affect your closing rates on your leads and your lead quality, as is on the platform itself, who you're getting in front of. On Facebook, are you getting in front of people who obviously have been interested in your competitor? Are these people who are, if you're selling, let's say, wedding invitations, that kind of thing. Are you getting in front of somebody who has a wedding pretty soon? Obviously, that affects the closing rate of your lead because there's more of a burning desire, immediate desire. And the closer you get to the point where that person in that market would typically buy, i.e. the number of days from the wedding, your lead quality is going to be better because they have more of a motivation to buy at the time of seeing your ads and responding. On Google, it's one keyword versus another. If somebody searches for cleaning services, the likelihood that that person is going to turn into a lead versus somebody typing in cost of a cleaner in Dallas, even though you can get a lead both ways, the cleaning services related lead that searched for that versus how much does a cleaner cost in Dallas, you're going to get 3 times the closing rate on that lead, just simply, even though they got to your same landing page and seen the same thing for your same cleaning service, the closing rate is going to be entirely different because that person has less of an immediate need and desire to buy what you have, okay? Part of how you, by the way, get somebody that's not immediately looking for what you have to buy is you have more information up to take that user from a little bit of interest to a lot of interest so you can turn them into a customer or client. And you have a really good landing page with really good information as well as a site that has really good information, which goes into my next thing. 15% of your closing rate has to simply do with how well you are communicating with that user before they call or before they fill out the form. If you have a cleaning service and you send them to a page that says, "We do cleaning, Dallas, call us," that person is not going to convert at near the rate as you on your page spend time explaining how you're the highest rated company in Dallas in terms of cleaning services and you have this award and that award and the mayor of the town uses this cleaning service and so forth. Not that everybody cares about that, but there's a certain percentage of people that will care, they see it, and that will increase the likelihood that they're going to buy. Because by the time they call, they're more understanding why you're different. You're trying to, through your landing page, your website, all of that, distinguish why that user needs what you have. So you could spend a little bit of work and to get them to call, or you could do a lot of work to get them to call. The closing rate will vary based upon how good of a job you did to communicate with them before they call. So don't just think because they call that's you're good already. Even though technically you're having a good phone sales process can actually make up for a user who's not very qualified when they call. just know part of your closing rate will be related to how much you're able to communicate and how well you're able to communicate with them before they call, to understand why you're the best before they call. So that'll be in and itself about 15% of the equation as to whether your leads you're getting from your advertising convert or not. Then another 15% will be just what is done between the time that they go to want to call or fill out the form and the actual sales pitch you give. So what I mean by this is, if they call, do they get IVR system, which is basically like an auto recording that'll say like, hey, thank you for calling, blah, 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 blah. That's IVR. How many rings did it take for somebody to pick up the phone? Did somebody answer and then they were put on hold before they talked to the actual salesperson? All of this is going to decrease your closing rate of the number of calls that you get, because people are going to drop off. A certain percentage of people are going to drop off. The longer it takes for them to talk to a competent salesperson or the salesperson, the more drop off you're going to have, which means your closing rates are going to go down. On the form leads that you get, the longer of time it takes for you to respond to the form lead, the less closing rate you're going to get per form submission. Literally 2/3 of the people who fill out your form will not respond to you unless you're able to respond to them within 15 minutes. In fact, I recommend, and not all businesses, this might not be required if you have a unique service where they know they got to deal with you anyway. Like we have at our agency, there's only one agency who does guaranteed PPC, so I don't have to answer the form lead in 15 minutes if you were to test us out. But for an everyday cleaning service, I'm going to have it so when somebody fills out the form, I'm going to use a service where immediately that's going to call my salesperson and it's going to say, John Smith just filled out a form on your landing page, press 1 to connect to him. Press 1, and I'm not just waiting 15 minutes, I'm going to call that person within 60 seconds, which stops them in their tracks. And if they were going to contact 2 or 3 other cleaning companies, they don't even get a chance to. So that's going to maximize your closing rates because you're doing more with the lead up front before you even talk to them to get them in front of the salesperson quicker. So you want to not have all this bullshit or as little as bullshit as possible before they talk to the salesperson on the phone, because that'll drop your lead closing rates, but also least amount of time from form fill to talk to the salesperson by itself. And then furthermore, a lot of times if they fill out the form, unless you're going to call them right away, and even then, if you call them, what the average person's going to do is they're going to call them once, they didn't answer, well, they didn't want it, I guess. That is the biggest waste of money that I see people do, whereas you should be calling that form lead back, given that most people aren't going to answer your call on the first call because people don't answer their phone anymore. It's gotten really bad. All companies have this problem, basically. You should be trying to call that form lead back 20 times. No, I'm not joking or embellishing here. 20 freaking times. You call them once or twice or 3 times the first day, then a couple times the second day, a couple more times the third day. And don't think of it as being annoying, because they contacted you saying they wanted you to call them. So it's not, crossing the line. And of course, if they didn't want you to call, they could just simply answer and say, don't call me anymore, and it would be handled. Then after calling them after that, that's a dick move, but not before. So the average amount of times it takes for somebody to answer the phone after they've given you their information through the form is actually like 7 times. So if you give up after 1 or 2 calls, guess what? You're only getting half of your closing rate you can get off those form leads. Yes, it matters that much. So you want to call them a sufficient amount of times. 20 times would be my minimum per form lead. Your leads cost way too much. And if you're expecting to try to call somebody once and then make your campaign work, and then because it doesn't work, bitch at your PPC guy that you need more leads because you're not making money, you're actually abusing that PPC guy, by the way, because you can only get the lead cost so cheap in a competitive market, like I was saying before. You got to also help him out and do your end and get the things that I'm telling you that affect what you're going to get from a lead on your end as well. And yes, it's not cheap or easy to do this, but it works. If you want to make money, If you follow the strategies I give you to beat your competition with your ads, like I have on this channel, and then you pair it with what I'm telling you here, you are going to crush it. Because your competition also doesn't want to do these extra steps to have a not just a random sales process, but a well-defined, where X is supposed to happen, then Y, then Z, then A, then B, and it's not random. So that's 15%, between other people who call or fill out the form. What happens between that and the sales pitch itself? 15% of the equation as to whether the lead closes or not. 25% of the equation is what's said during the pitch itself. So a lot of people just think it's the sales pitch that is important, and it does play a big factor. Having an actual bona fide salesperson versus having Betty, who is the secretary, answer the phone, will usually be the difference between making 50 sales and 100 sales. It makes that big a difference. I understand a salesperson is not affordable or feasible for a lot of companies that don't have enough scale. They don't have enough leads coming in to keep a salesperson busy full time. And in that case, what you do is you can make up for it by training Betty on how to answer the phone and do the pitch correctly. Because if all Betty's going to do is say, what time you want to come in? Oh, okay, see ya. Your sales are going to be shit. You need to come up with an actual script for Betty. When you answer the phone, you say this. Then once they say that, you say this. And if they say this, you say that. And you script the whole thing out. And you could turn somebody who's not even a salesperson, nor wants to be, into an effective enough person to make money and probably get most of what the salesperson could get out of them. Assuming it's not a complex sale at the very least, you can get most of what a regular salesperson would do. It makes a big difference just how you answer the phone too. If you answer the phone saying, hello, how can I help you? Versus, hello, you have reached Master Clean, home of the Dallas is great cleaning and disposal service that the mayor of Dallas has ranked the #1 service in the area. How can I help you get a masterful cleaned office? I've seen people do this. It works extremely well. And you stand out that way. But this is the type of stuff you have, and at the very least you have to test it and see what works. But don't just random, do whatever. Because that's, very few people make fortunes doing random shit. People that make by far the most have a very specific sales process in place. I can tell you from experience. So how do you make that call? Not just random, but like for the user how can we blow them away in terms of giving them a good experience overall, but giving them really good information concisely as well. So that sales pitch, who says it and how they say it, makes a big difference. You should have it ordered, so there's a specific process that every person goes through, and that's it. And then you periodically check up on it, because if you have Betty do that and you never check up to see if she's doing it after that, guess what? 6 months later, she will be doing it the old way. I promise you. You got to audit this time to time, and so you need to pay somebody to audit it. The best way you do that is you hire somebody. You say, every 3 months, or every month, I want you to go through and be a secret shopper, and I want you to write down in this log what you found. And you go back to that log and you check it once in a while yourself. If the log's not filled out, you tell that person, if this log is not filled out, you're fired if I see it and it's not been followed. So it's crystal clear to the person up front, you mean business. This needs to be done on a regular basis, because this is the lifeblood of your business, your revenue that's coming in. Why would you not have something set up like that to make sure that what generates your entire revenue coming into your company stays operating at a level that will make sure to continue to deliver a profit for your business? So anyway, so you get the general gist there. Now that's the pitch itself is 25% of the lead quality as you see it, and the closing rate on the leads you do get. Another 15% is just what's said after the pitch. This is most companies screw up on this. You can actually make up for not being able to distinguish yourself very much before they call, so that when they call, they just think you're any other company and they're just getting a quote or whatever, by building a better relationship with the user after they call. Like I said earlier in the video, I send a book out to every person I give a proposal to. And that reach out to me and want to work with our agency, because I want them to be educated on me, and it also just seems thoughtful, right? So, with that said, you can actually do stuff like that where you can send them a box of donuts or whatever, and that will a lot of times increase your click-through or lead closing rates. But more importantly is just the follow-up. If somebody contacts, because what you ultimately get is there's going to be a lot of people that say yes or no on that initial call, right? There's most of the time even more maybes. What are you doing with the maybe? Are you just giving up on them right then and there? Most companies do. You're throwing away at least 15% of your revenue. You need to have a CRM system like Salesforce or Zoho and track every lead that's coming in, so you know at what point your leads are not closing, who's responsible for it, of the leads that come in, who's not closing at the rate that they need to close, and that you are closing at the right rate, so that if you aren't closing at the rate that you are supposed to, that you can right away go dig into your sales process and figure out what the problem is. But have it that the people who are supposed to do the sales, they follow up with those maybe leads until they literally say yes or no. Like we call it in the marketing sales space, buy or die. That person either buys from you or they tell you to F off. There's no middle ground. Once they say, I'm not interested, you don't have to contact them anymore. Well, for the most part, even then, I'll just tell you, I'm not ashamed to admit it. If somebody says to me, hey, I'm not interested in your pitch, or, you're too expensive, whatever. I just put it in our CRM, our Zoho CRM system, follow this person up in a year and ask them whatever they said they were going to do instead, because if they say no or whatever, ask them why. And then you leave a note in the CRM saying why they wouldn't buy, then set a reminder for the salesperson to call that person back in a year at that time. In a year, they come back, they read the notes, see where the last conversation was left off. They said they weren't going to do it because of X. Then you email them again and you say, hey, just wondering how X went. Maybe they said it went great, fine. They say, nah, it didn't really work out. Well, now you have your opportunity to sell. Just doing that, you're going to make 15% more sales from the same amount of leads than you had before. Following them up, even if they said no, and see how things went after, but especially the ones that said, I'm not sure, instead of waiting for them to come back on their own, you follow up every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and just say, hey, did you make a decision yet? No, I'm not sure yet. Okay, I'll reach back out to you in a month. Maybe you've decided then. And then you keep following up like that. And so you literally tell your salespeople, if they don't say that they're ready to go, you put a note in the CRM that tracks all of your leads and a date in which you're supposed to follow them up. And then once every day they come in for work, every day they check all the follow-ups that they're supposed to do. And then if they see they were supposed to call XYZ today, click on it, go to that leads record, see the notes that's been left on that person's thing, and then call that person back, find out if they made a decision yet. If not, put in there they haven't made a decision, what's the next callback date, and then you just keep doing that until they decided they're going to buy. And even if they didn't buy, but they still could potentially buy from you, like I said before, if they say that if they said I'm not sure yet, they say, I'm buying from somebody else, I'll set a reminder to call back in a year if they said they're going to buy from somebody else. Whereas if they said they weren't sure yet, I'm going to set the reminder, call back in 2 weeks instead, right? And I promise you, the people who didn't do business with you, if you follow up enough with them, and given your competition's not going to be doing this, they're going to build a bond with you, and business that you wouldn't have had, you're just going to simply get because they know and trust you, just you following up with them better than the competition. And even if all the other fundamentals, price, quality, everything else that that is linked to your offer isn't as good as your competition, you'll win just based upon that familiarity factor. And people that do business-to-business sales, selling to businesses, they know what I'm telling you here for the most part anyway. But in consumer sales, where they're not selling to businesses, people don't understand this. They think if somebody calls about a broken sewer that they either buy right away or that they don't, which is really, it's just false. And you should follow that person up every 6 months because a lot of people don't decide right away. And people who did decide, the project fails, and you could get the project on the second round if you just followed up with them. So anyway, so as you can see here, there's a lot of, different parts here where the customer that could buy a bot from you will fall out that you want to pay attention to tightening up these places that they can fall out of your sales funnel so you get the maximum sales you can out of set leads you can. And if you mess up more than 2 of these individual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things I just labeled here, it's likely you're not profitable. So you can screw up on one of these. You might be able to get by with screwing up with a couple, but if you screw up with more than a couple, you're probably never going to make money. So you can have a really good ad and really, really good website that explains to the user in simple terms, not fancy marketing jargon, but it sounds like you really know what you're talking about, and it feels like when you read the text on your website that a person's speaking to you directly. That and then just do your follow-up right. Your salesperson could be dog shit, but they know so much about your company by having the ad set up right and then speaking to them well, and you build rapport with that person doing the follow-up. Salesperson, you didn't even need a very good one. You just needed the secretary to answer. On the flip side, if your ad traffic is mediocre, and your website's mediocre, but you have a fantastic salesperson that does their follow-up, you could have, not very good dialed-in ads that have mediocre, people wishy-washy coming into your site in the first place, and a website that doesn't explain very well, but you have a killer salesperson that does really good follow-up. It'll easily make up for having a wishy-washy lead, because a good salesperson the difference between a good and a bad salesperson more than anything is somebody who could take somebody who wasn't very sure about buying and take them to being sure. Anybody can take a sure person to a sale, but the person who can take fleeting interest to turn it into a sale, that person's worth 6 figures a year in terms of sales revenue. So you get what I'm generally trying to say here. The more of these you get, the better you'll view the lead quality of the leads you already have. And you can, where you have weakness in one area, you can make up for it in another. But if you have too much weakness in each, in too many areas here, the likelihood of any ad campaign you have working is low, to non-existent. So, in terms of improving lead quality, yes, you could spend, a good amount of time trying to get the right people to your website. But for a lot of you guys, the whole point of this video is to say, that's not where I would be focusing. I would be focusing on what happens after that person gets to your website to get that person from sort of interested, which is what you have right now, to really interested and willing to buy from you, even though you don't have the best product or service in your market. Because you explained it well, the salesperson they liked the follow-up, and built a lot of rapport with that user over time with the follow-up that they did, and you get the sale anyway. So, get it? Anyway, wanted to make this video. Hopefully it made sense for you. If you liked the video and you found a lot of use in it, I would appreciate it if you would give it a like and consider subscribing to this channel, as I have a ton of other content on this channel that'll help you make millions of dollars with your ads, running Google ads, Facebook ads, and so forth. And it comes straight from the source on somebody who just does ad strategy all day long. I'm not a YouTuber or course seller or anything like that you're going to mainly find on YouTube. I just do ad strategy, and I share what I find works on and through my YouTube campaign or YouTube account here. So you should subscribe. It's the best information you're going to find online, as is my blog that you can also find from myself at guaranteedppc.com/blog, as well as on my column on entrepreneur.com. So if you have any questions though about anything I covered here today, as well as or any question about business or ads, leave me a comment below. I'm more than happy to help you try to put you in the right path given my 17 years of business and marketing experience, try to get you through potentially whatever you're trying to fix or solve right now for your business, or to take yourself to the next level with what you're doing. If you are, though, looking for an ad manager to just simply take over your advertising and get you results for your company, I'd love to be able to hear from you, and I can get you a free analysis of the campaigns that you're running for your business right now and predict how much more sales results we can get for your campaign. I do not charge any fees to clients up front until we can get you or get them a certain amount of increase in sales results on your campaigns without spending more ad money. And so with that, we're basically being paid out of a percentage of the profit you're making. We do that for all new clients that we're working with. The only catch is that you of course got to have something great that will sell well. So therefore we don't work with just any company, but if you want to see if we can work together, just reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com and I'll be happy to look over your stuff and get you an analysis to see if we can. We either will get you more leads or more sales in your current budget before you have to pay us anything. And we're the only company out there that does that, and you can't go wrong with that offer. So that said, also, just as a side though, we have a separate program we started recently where we're selling actual campaign templates that work in a number of different markets, including yours if you're in a market that we worked in. We've worked in over 100 different markets at this stage, so chances are we probably have worked in your market. And if we have, I'll tell you what results we've gotten in your market and then what results you could get with our ad templates, landing page templates that we've used in your market. And with that, if you bought our templates, with what you could get in your market without all the hard work we had to put in to get the results we have for a client in your market as well before. So, or currently still working in. So with that said, I mean, basically we have the templates that worked in your industry already. You literally have copy paste results you could use today to move over to your account and then cut right to the point where, you know, you're getting results that we had to spend years getting those results in your market already. We could tell you what results we got in your market already if we worked in it. And then with that, of course, what the cost is to acquire those templates from us, of which are going to be way less than what you're going to spend trying to learn what works in your market, or at least to the level of what we had to figure out spending many times hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure out what works in your market. So reach out to me if you're interested in that. We've got people using our templates to start up even side businesses since they're so lucrative to use in general, or since they're so, you know, well working right when you start using them. They have been selling leads. They've been starting, you know, side e-commerce businesses, trying to get into stuff like that. So, you know, with, you know, if you've worked in e-commerce in one country but you don't plan on working in the U.S., you know, you could take something that works perfectly in one country, use it in the U.S., and have a e-commerce business that you know, ultimately start up. So anyway, if you're interested in that, reach out to me. I'll also let you know about that. We've worked in your market, what results we've gotten in your market with our templates, and what results we can get in your market with using our templates. So with that said, I'll wrap it all up with that. If you liked the video, I appreciate you giving it a like on the way out, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later.